What up,
Yo,
roomies?
homies!
We're back, and Than's in the building. Like we said, we left you guys off on a cliffhanger on exactly what his experience was when he had his near-death experience and the results of it, and all the things he saw. So, welcome back, Than, the Butterfly Man, aka the Bro. So, Than. So then, this is a horrible segue into this, but so, all right, where we left off, we was at the pool. You was lying down at the bottom. You was looking up at the stars. So,
Yep.
what was the experience like when you kind of lost consciousness when you were like transported out of your body?
Yeah. Okay. So when I woke up at the bottom of the pool, I think I had shared on the first podcast that my first out of body experience actually happened as a child,
Yeah.
where somebody had overdosed me while abusing me. And then I ended up in the ice bath, right? So that was my first out of body experience slash NDE. So the reason I share that is because when I woke up at the bottom of the pool, the one thing that was present in my mind was that I had just been to the place that I had been when I was a little boy. Okay.
Okay.
And the reason that's important is because I did not panic. It's like I woke up underneath the water with water in my lungs, and I knew where I was at. I figured that out very quickly, but I also knew that I had been someplace before.
Yeah.
So, and I knew it was the other life because of how it felt in my mind. It's hard to explain it. It's a feeling. It's like it was almost like deja vu, right? When
Yeah.
you've been someplace before and you're like, I know I've been here. That's what it was like for me when I woke up in the bottom of the pool. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been someplace. Where did I go? Oh, I know where I went. I know exactly where I went. It was like that. Okay. So that's why I didn't panic when I realized that I was literally going to drown. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to remain calm here. And that's literally when I started praying, saying, God help me. I don't know how to get out of this, right? And then I
Yeah.
got that voice that said raise your head. And because of that cancer that I had that hole in my throat. So when I raised my head, that oxygen that was in that bubble in that pocket inside of my throat, it went into my lungs. And then that's what allowed me to get enough oxygen to breathe long enough to make it to the surface. And then
Shit.
once I surfaced, I just kind of like threw up and then gasped, but I didn't have full use of my arms and legs yet because my body was not, it was like my spirit was in the body, but the body felt like sluggish. Like it was like, it didn't want to move.
Like you were
Like you
still
say,
pulling up.
yeah, yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, it felt like I was intoxicated, but I wasn't. Right?
Okay.
Like my body was just slow. Like it wouldn't like I wanted to swim, but my arms would not do this. The only thing I could do was kind of wiggle. And I just kind of like literally wiggled my way to the surface. Like it's hard to explain. But
No, I get it. I get it.
so, I came out, I laid on the side of the pool, and what was really overwhelming for me was how incredibly beautiful the sky was, like the stars and the moon, and the like. I laid in I have a shallow play area in my pool where my grandkids play, and I laid there for a good hour, mostly because I couldn't move. My body didn't want to cooperate yet, but the main reason, it was like something was filling my head. Like I don't know how to describe it. I really don't. But so when I came out of the pool, things were very different for me. And if you interviewed my kids, they'll tell you I was batshit crazy. Like that's what they would
Yeah.
say, because I was doing some things that were very peculiar. For example, I would go up to the sink and I would turn the water on and I would watch the water circle and then go down the drain. And I would stand there for 10 minutes and then I would start pouring things into the water that were different colors, like watching how the color would get into the water and then go down the drain. Like weird things. Okay.
Yeah.
I became obsessed with molecules and science. And then math. That probably is the most weird, okay? Because I'm a business guy. I have a degree in finance and real estate, but I'm not a mathematician at all. Not my favorite subject, but yet
Yeah.
I became curious
Obsessed.
with, yeah, math, okay? So that curiosity was also why I was curious about atoms and like thermodynamics, like what does heat do and what does cold do, and I kid you not, I could literally fry up a half a dozen eggs in a pan. I could put it behind me, not look at it, flip the eggs in the pan, bring it back, put it on the counter, on the burner without breaking a yolk, blindfolded. I knew where everything was. Like I literally could feel it flip. I knew the trajectory. I knew everything. And my family's watching me flipping eggs like with my eyes shut. And they're like, Dad has literally lost his marbles. Like that is exactly what my kids were thinking. And me too, because it was weird behavior. So ultimately, I ended up being hospitalized because
Yeah.
I had a lot of things I was dealing with, not only a mental break, but physically. From drowning in the pool, my body
Yeah.
just didn't want to work like it did. So I spent a week in the hospital learning how to use my body. It didn't quite work like it had before. It just
Yeah.
didn't come online, would be the best way to describe it. So my speech was slurred. During the first week, I struggled speaking, I struggled with balance, all of those things from that experience. But the main thing though was I started remembering, okay? And specifically I remembered where I went.
Yeah.
So in my first NDE, I went up the tunnel. Okay. And that's common. Like most people, when you hear them talk about an NDE, there's a sense of like floating. Okay.
Yeah.
When you leave your body, it feels like your body is heavy. And when you leave your body, it feels like you're floating, right? So in my first NDE, when I was a little boy, I went up that tunnel into the light, okay? And I ended up in a space where I met heavenly beings. That's the best way to
Yeah.
describe them. And when I was little, it was my grandfather, you see. And my grandfather said, "You are not supposed to be here and you have to go back. Like you have a life to live, you have things you need to accomplish and you can't stay here even though I wanted to." So my
Yeah.
grandfather, he had passed away a couple of years before this, which is why he was on the other side for me when I was a little boy and I had my first NDE out of body experience. So when you take that knowledge and you bring it to the present, that whole experience changes everything that I had experienced
Yeah.
because I had an understanding about heavenly beings and heavenly spaces. So when I went this time, um, I didn't, I don't, to this day, I don't have a memory of going up the tunnel. I had that memory from the first one, not on the
Yeah.
second one. I don't know why. It has not come back to me. So where does my consciousness begin? It begins on the other side in heaven, and it begins in a space with literally a sea of people, like a sea of people. Like you think of like a crowd, like, performing a huge concert. It's
Yeah.
like a sea of people that you're looking at. And here's the truth, they're all your family. Like that's the most beautiful thing because we're all cut from that same source of light, right? When they
Yeah.
say we're all brothers and sisters, we are. We are all brothers and sisters because we're all cut from that same source of light. So when you go back to heaven, what you see is all of these souls,
Yeah.
more than you can ever imagine. And they're there because you've arrived. It's literally your family greeting you when you go to the other side, because they know that you're coming back. It's part of how it works. Okay, so out of that experience, my obsession with math and little teeny tiny things began kind of this passion that
Yeah.
I that I had to understand science, Why, I don't know. Well, I do today because I've been directed towards something. But initially, I'm like, I'm a finance and sales guy. Like, I'm not a scientist. I don't study neuroscience. Like, why am I
Mm.
fascinated with math? Okay. So, this is what God showed me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I use the word God because it's the word that I grew up with. Okay. I grew up with that name, God. I grew up in the Mormon church, no longer a member of the Mormon church. I consider myself to have Christian beliefs, but I don't subscribe to 100% of what Christianity represents today because I've also studied that. And I
Yeah.
also know from my own NDE that many of the things that Christ taught are not accurate, not in the world today. They've been screwed up by man. Like
Of course. Of
that's
course.
very much the case. All right. So that's why, a lot of people say, think, well, did you meet God? Yes, that is the answer. Well, okay. Well, then did you meet Jesus? Yes, I did meet Jesus. But then it starts the whole, well, are they the same thing? Or are they, is God the Father the same as Jesus Christ, or is Jesus Christ God the Father, or what? You know what I mean? Like people
Yeah.
get into that real quickly. And here's the honest truth. The honest truth is none of it matters. Okay?
Yeah.
None of
I
it
would.
matters.
I kind of would figure that.
Yeah,
That like.
what
And
matters? Go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say what matters. There's only one rule in heaven. One, love. That's it. It's love. And it's the most intense love. Like we feel love here, like we feel love with our siblings, with our kids, with our parents, with our family, and we call it love and it feels amazing. But I would tell you that love on the other side is different. It is exponential, it's bigger, it's literally everything. Everything is built from love in heaven. Everything. And and it could be that way here on this planet if we allowed it. But
Yeah.
we, as mankind, we choose to look the other way. We made a different choice, right? So the obsession with math led to something that I now call the equation of life and abundant happiness. And it's literally it's a set of mathematical symbols that are arranged with a couple other symbols to create an equation. All right.
Okay.
And when you understand the equation and the principles behind the equation, then you have a perfect life. Your life will work exactly as God designed your life to work when you run the equation. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't want to lose a bunch of people because I know when you say math, people like tune out. I'm one of them. Okay. But but understand how it works and why. Okay. So let's start. What's the first thing you remember from learning in kindergarten? What was the first thing you learned in math? Do you remember? First
Our
thing.
numbers. How to count. How to count.
Yeah, you learned how to count. Okay.
Yeah.
So we count and memorize the numbers. Then the next thing we learned was addition,
Yeah.
right? We learned how to add, then we learned how to subtract, then they taught us multiplication tables, and then they taught us division.
Division. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that is the way that we learned it. Now, here's the great thing. Now, everybody knows the same operators you need to memorize for the equation of life and abundant happiness. You already learned it. You're just going to apply it to your life in a different way. All right. So think of it
Okay.
this way. What God expects us to do here is to balance. That's our job. Okay. And what I mean by that is there are two mathematical equations that allow us to balance anything and everything. Okay. The first one is addition. And with addition, it's an understanding that addition is those things that bring forth goodness and joy. That's
Okay.
addition. So, what things can I add in my life that'll bring forth goodness and joy? That's addition.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is subtraction. Subtraction is about letting go. So, what are some things in the present moment in my life that I could let go of that would help me balance? Okay. Because what God expects of us is to balance. That means you add what you need, subtract what you don't, and you achieve a state of balance. That is what God expects of us. And both of those things are within our power. We all know when we need to add things, and we all know when do we need to let go. We
Yeah.
struggle with it, but we
Yep.
know how to do it.
Yep.
Okay?
That's true.
We know how to do it. So God expects us to add the things that bring forth goodness and joy, subtract those things that don't serve us and let them go, and achieve a state of what we call neutral balance. Okay? Now, why neutral? Because neutral means that you have no filter on anything. Neutral is perfect freedom. Okay. I don't have anything in my brain that's going to slant me negative, and I have nothing in my brain that's going to slant me positive. I just exist in perfect balance. So, perfect balance is really transparent, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost as if you don't exist. True, right?
True.
Okay.
True.
Yeah.
True.
All
I'm
right.
following.
Okay. So I want you to think of it this way: God is neutral. Okay. God is zero, the perfect number, not positive, not negative, just is. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what God is. It is literally just that. It is the center point of which everything exists, rests upon. Okay. God
All
holds
right.
everything up, right? He expects us. Notice I'm using the word he because I was raised a Christian. So in my framework, God is masculine, but in reality, God is both.
Yeah.
Okay? God is both masculine and feminine at the same time. That is God. Okay? So that means that as a man, we also have a responsibility to balance that feminine energy because the one carries it and so do we. And that's important, right? Especially if you're gonna be a good dad, then
Yeah.
you better be a tender dad. You better know when you need to protect your family, but you also better know when you need to cuddle with that little one because they need that.
Yeah.
That
True.
feminine side of energy that we see coming from women is just as important for a man to embrace and balance as the masculinity is, right?
Yeah.
So when we think God, I tend to think of a masculine entity because I was raised that way, but the reality is that God is actually neutral. It's neither. It's not masculine, it's not feminine. It's just God. It's everything.
It's
Like
everything at once. Yeah.
yeah, that's the best way to think of it. All right. So, in the equation of life and abundant happiness, God expects us to add those things that bring forth goodness and joy, let go of that crap that isn't serving us, and get rid of it and achieve balance. That's what God expects. And when we
Okay.
say balance, go ahead. Got a question?
No. 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 I'm following you. I'm just following you right now.
Okay. Okay. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is not balance. Okay. This
No.
is what
That's
you
the.
think. That is 2D balancing. Okay. We balance in 3D like this. Okay. That
Okay.
is what God expects you to be able to balance at the head of a pin at all times. That's what it takes. Add and subtract, and you can achieve this state of balance. All right. The
All
other
right.
thing that you achieve here is the here and now. Okay. Really, really important. Something I learned on the other side is how incredibly important it is to stay present in the moment.
Okay.
Most of us, we get distracted. And we get distracted, especially today, with these wonderful things that are
Oh.
constantly pulling our attention. Okay.
Oh. We
We're
love
the
them.
most distracted we've ever been in the history of mankind. Okay.
Yeah. I.
We are the
I'm,
most distracted, but the most important thing to learn is to be present. Most people can't stay present. They either
no.
spend time thinking about what they should have done or worried about the future they're trying to control. But where they're actually not is in the present moment. Now, why is that important? Because that's where God works. God works in the present moment. God does not work in the past and God does not work in the future. You will see and know God in the moment, the present moment, which is why the first thing I teach when I teach people, it's awareness. I
Yeah.
teach awareness training first. Like where are you spending time? If you're leaving the present moment and you're spending time in your default mode network worried about that fight that you got in last week, then you're not present, are you?
No.
See? So most people, and this is the real number, about 50% of the time, you're actually checked out. You're not even paying attention. You're running on autopilot in your default mode network.
Nah, I
Okay.
feel you on that.
So,
Not, but that's
yeah,
how most people are though. Like,
that's correct.
like nowadays, like you'll just see like people like are either A trying to multitask, which they don't focus on one particular task that they're trying to get done, or
Yep.
B, their mind is on 3,000 different things, even though they
Mhm.
should be right then and there.
That's
And what I've
correct.
and what I've learned by speaking to you and a whole bunch of other people is that you feel me. In order for you to progress in life or march forward, you got to
Mhm.
be here and now.
Mhm.
Because if you're absent-minded, opportunity might slip you by, or you might not see something that you were meant to see, or by incidents you might not bump into the person that you're supposed to bump into.
Ariel,
And
everything you
by
just said is 1000% spot on and accurate. And that's why that precious moment is so critical, because that's where God gives you signs. It's in the present moment. Like, if you want to know, where do I need to go, God will give you the answer in the present moment. In the present moment, as long as I stay in the present, the answer will come. The problem is most people lack faith and they want an answer right now. And then they try and force the hand of God, and that's a mistake. You can't force
yeah,
God to do anything, right?
nah,
But being aware is one of the most important things for you to learn. It's the first thing I teach people is awareness. I teach it with a bracelet. I literally use this bracelet. You can order one on Amazon for $10, and I can teach you awareness training within 24 hours using that bracelet. It's amazing, right?
oh really?
Okay.
All right, all right.
So we add,
We
we
subtract.
subtract.
All right,
Next, multiply.
multiply. All right.
Multiply. All right. So multiplication is about growth, right? So that means that I've add what I needed. I let go of the shit that's not serving me, and I'm balanced. All right. Now I align my action with my intention, and I let God know what it is that I'm doing. That's really important. Okay. Because when you align your action and your intention, and you align it with that higher power, now you've got the higher power creating and you're creating together. We, as human beings, we co-create our reality with God.
Yeah,
Okay. But that always happens in the present moment. That's why it's so critical that you learn to stay in the present moment, because God will send you a sign if you're aware. But you said it earlier, if you get busy with something else, there may have been a sign telling you to turn right, but you
and you
missed
went
the
left.
sign because you weren't paying attention.
Yeah,
And that's literally how so many things miss people in life, and it's because they're not aware, they're not paying attention. And trust me, when you go through life review, okay, which I'm happy to talk about whenever you
oh,
want
we're
to
gonna
talk
get into
about it.
that. We're gonna talk
Okay.
about it.
The thing that's cool about life review is when you understand how probabilities work on the other side. Okay.
Okay.
Because, well, shit, let's just talk about it. All right. Life review.
All right.
That's where I began, was life review. And the way that it works is you are literally standing in the presence of God. God is with you, and your entire life takes shape in front of you. So it's like you can see it, but it's real. It's just as real as the reality that we have here. Like, you
Yeah.
can touch it, you can feel it, it's the whole thing. Okay. So what happens is, when we die and we go through life review, we are basically taking our learnings and everything that we accomplished in this life, and we're transferring that knowledge back to God where it originally came from, because God is still learning too.
Yeah.
God learns through us.
Wait, hold
Okay.
on.
Hmm.
Quick question, right? Or not to
Okay.
cut you off, but this comes to like a great theory that I once had, right?
Okay.
That the creation of like this universe and the creation of all life in this universe, because I truly believe there's other life than us, right?
100%. Yep.
Right.
There are other planets with life on them.
Right. And since we're all made in like God's image and whatnot, or like, he created us from all the same light, would it be
Yes.
safe to say that like we're all part of like one universal or godly consciousness, and he's just
Yes.
experiencing all of his creation at once through
Yes.
everybody,
Yes.
or
That is
he,
correct.
or what, or
Yes.
whatever you guys want to call it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The field is connected. Okay,
Yeah.
like I learned that on the other side. Like everything is connected, right? Like you want to know how God keeps track of this? It's really fascinating. So, if there's two things that God tracks us with, light and sound. Okay? So, light is how God knows our movement because we only show up if there's light.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
light, you can't see us. Okay?
Can't see shit.
So, yep. So God uses the light to see us. So we are recorded like in a camera, but it's like light. Okay, so our lives are recorded through light and sound. So light picks up our physical bodies, sound picks up the things that we say and do, right? So
Yeah.
why is that important? This is critical. I learned this when I died. Every word you say that comes out of your mouth will last forever. It never goes away. Okay. So when I yell at somebody and I use bad language and I hurt somebody, those angry words that I put into this world, they were directed at another human being. But where they actually went is into the universe and they never stop. So the minute you say something, those words are permanent. They exist. And although we cannot hear them, God sure as heck can. Every
Not for you.
single word. Okay. So that's why our word is our bond. Our word is our bond. As a man, my value, as a woman, my value is my word, my bond, my trust. Okay. Works the same way in heaven. So the way that God designed it was, we're all cut from the light. We get an agreement. Okay, every soul has an agreement, and it's determined before you come here what you are going to accomplish. Okay,
Okay.
so and I know, I was raised in Christianity, and in Western Christianity we don't have reincarnation, and we only have one life, and we better get it right. That is false teaching.
Yeah.
Okay,
I strongly
that
believe
is
that
not
that's
true.
false. Yeah.
That was created by Rome, 325 AD. Anybody can do the research. There were originally 88 books in the Bible. Now there are 68. Where did those other 20 books go? Great question. You can
Those are the
actually
apostles.
find those other books. You can find those books in the Ethiopian Bible, which is the oldest Bible in history. The
Yep.
Ethiopians have it.
And
But
Rumi's,
what's
if
what?
you want to know what the name of that is, those are called the apocryphal texts. You could go check them out. They have the books like the book of the Mary Magdalene, the book of James,
Yep.
book of Enoch. Check them out.
Enoch. Yep.
It's a wild read, and it also sheds some light on like the childhood of Jesus and all the fuck shit he did
Yeah.
while he was growing up.
Yeah. Well, didn't you wonder, like when I grew up, when we were reading the King James version, like
Yeah.
why is there 14 years of Christ's life that there's no information? Well,
Yeah.
there is information and there is a history of his life, but they didn't want to include it in the Bible because it included things like being able to find God from within. You see, Jesus taught many, many things here. He did not say worship me. What Jesus said was follow me. I'll teach you how to find the one, which is exactly what Jesus did. Okay?
Yeah.
But many of the things that he taught were manipulated by Rome for control, power, and fear.
Of course.
Okay? So that is where we went astray. Okay? Most people, you have to understand that in the beginning was nothing. Nothing. In the beginning was nothing. And then God made light. God made light. So what does that mean? Really, there is light and absence of light. That's all God created. Light, absence of light. Then man entered the picture, and man said, well, wait a minute. We can't accept that. We have to call it something different. So let's call it dark, and it will be the opposite of light. Okay, man did that. That was
Yeah.
man's creation. That was not God's original plan. God is light, absence of light. Fear, darkness, opposites, duality, that was all created by man when we perceived ourselves as being separate from God. We're not separate from God. We're all one. We're all connected through that same energy. I got the
Yeah.
same light in me that God has. I have a smaller amount, okay? But I
Yeah.
have that same source of light. So so God expects us to come here to balance, to get a body, right? Because the body is the input mechanism for the soul. Think about it. Your body is what tells you, that's how you learn things. How do I know something's hot? Well, as a spirit, I have no way of detecting heat. But with a body, I can learn that the stove is hot, don't touch it. So we got a body to teach our souls because without the body, we don't have an input mechanism. So
Yeah.
think of Earth as like a training ground for souls. That's what it is. Okay. So unlike traditional Christianity, which taught us that we only had one life, true Christianity, the way Jesus originally taught it, was that we have multiple opportunities to learn and grow. And that is true. So
Yeah.
I know from I personally have memories of some of my past lives, and I actually have memories of my past lives with my wife Joy, and she can also remember some of those lives because her and I are always together. We're always together in life in one way or another. So I know in this life I am married to Joy, but I also know that in another version of my life, Joy was my mother. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've that is also part of how everything gets makes sense. All right. So let me throw something at you that used to piss me off before heaven. When you look out in the world and you see people that are doing better than you, and we do that comparison game, which is
Yeah.
robbing, right? That's Teddy Roosevelt, right? That comparison is the thief of joy. That was what Teddy Roosevelt
No,
said.
that's a big fact.
Yeah, and true, right? When we make those comparisons, that's when we lose the joy that we had. So don't make the comparisons because at the end of the day, you can't make the comparisons because it's not the same. It's never the same. It can't be the same. There's only one you and one
True.
version of you. Okay, so so when you look at what God expected us to do, add, subtract, multiply, action, and intention, it's through our multiple lives that our souls expand. Okay. So part of multiplication in the universe is about the expansion of our souls and the expansion of knowledge. That's why in the equation of life and abundant happiness, the multiplication sign is actually your source for love. So when I wrote the equation of life and abundant happiness, I wrote it so that anybody could live it regardless of what you believe. So if you're Catholic, great. This is going to make you be a better Catholic. If you're Jewish, this is going to make you be a better Jew. If you're, Muslim, it's going to make you, excuse me, a better Muslim. Because at the end of the day, what you're going to find is at the top of every religion is this thing called love.
Yeah.
That's it. And
But
that's
that's
why the other side is just love.
but that's the common theme in most religions is how it's just treating, your fellow person the way you want to be treated and to lead with love. Like
Yeah.
all the other bullshit is really just filler and a way for man to control man.
Yes.
I completely agree
Yeah.
with you that the teachings of prophets and people who came down here that were supposed to like lead the human race or the human society into like a more peaceful era. Like their teachings always get misconstrued because there's somebody who's like, all right, cool. Like you have this group of people that are devoted to this. Now, if I interject my will into it, I could control them as well. And we saw this through the Catholic Church for centuries,
Right.
especially through like the Inquisitions and like through the councils of Nicaea and all of that, and how they
Yep.
would modify things and like take things out or edit
Yep.
things,
That's
and
325 AD. You hit it right there.
how they would have the Bible in like Latin, so people couldn't read it, so they really couldn't. So they depended on priests to read it for them, and you know,
Yeah.
it's all about and it all comes down to one solid thing is that knowledge is power, and not really power in the way to control people, but power in kind of a way to become free and more attracted, more
Mhm.
connected, I would say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, there's this movement in this country around the word woke, right?
Yeah,
And it's being used inappropriately. And it's creating a negative out of something that's actually very positive. Because here is the danger. Once you're awake, you cannot be manipulated.
yeah.
And that's why our federal government does not want us to be woke, because once we're awake, we see all the bullshit and the lies and all the crap that's actually happening in our government and in our world and in our country.
But then
That's
you said it right there. You basically laid it out. You said being awake and being woke.
hmm
You get me? The two are
hmm
two totally different things. Woke is a movement of ignorance
hmm
and a way to put
mm.
people down, and for other people to feel like they have some authority, or to control people. Oh, you're not woke because you're not sensitive to this. No, if you're awake, you kind of like get the picture, and you kind of like help your fellow man, and you treat everybody well, and you
So
respect them.
you see, so that's interesting. So your perspective is of the word woke is that if you're woke, you're using your knowledge in a negative way. Is that how you see
Yep.
it?
Yeah,
Hmm,
because
interesting.
because this is the thing about it, right? And it comes to and it comes to like differences in opinions and whatnot. Like, people will say you're not woke because of the fact that you're not acknowledging this part of society that might seem a little outrageous to you. You know what I mean?
hmm
But being awake or being awoken isn't necessarily that. Being awoken is just being a person who treats everybody, fairly, who
Yep.
treats everybody treats everybody the same way they want to be treated, and they respect people's opinions and viewpoints on life. But being woke, you have to subscribe to something. You know what I mean? You have to subscribe to
Mm.
a movement. You have to be attached to a certain thing. And it's like it's weird because it's like you want to be awake, but you don't want to be woke. If that makes any sense.
I do see what you're saying. I do. It's an interesting perspective
Yeah.
because here's the thing. Like, governments don't want their people awake.
Of
Okay?
course not.
They want you stupid and following everything as if they're the only solution.
Yeah.
True.
True
When you're
fact.
awake, like today, I mean, here's the truth. Once I will say this, okay? When you take my course, The Equation of Life and Abundant Happiness, you're going to be fully awake at the end of it. You will know everything. Everything. Okay.
Yeah.
You will have a direct relationship with this thing upstairs. Okay. Because I'm going to light something in your heart that's going to blow your mind. Okay. And it's the light, it's the deepest source of light you can get. And I put it in your heart. And we do it with love and gratitude and kindness. Like, my course, I use 101 exercises. They're all designed around awareness, kindness, and love. So you're going to go into the world and you're going to create goodness. And in creating that goodness, you're also going to heal your heart and heal your mind. Like,
Yeah.
literally, right? So I know we're just like bouncing all over the place in this
It's cool,
conversation. So
bro. It's cool.
people are like, this guy can't finish one topic, right? Like, that's the whole point,
Ah,
though,
fuck
right?
that. Yo, but that's the nature of that's the nature of it
Yeah,
all. You feel me? We're
yeah.
going off, but just keep going with what we're saying now. Is like, damn, I
Like,
completely lost.
I see somebody like here is how woke has got a bad rap. Okay,
Yeah,
like the current administration uses the word woke as a derogatory statement about the Democrats, saying that their liberal policies are going against, the Christian nationalist agenda, which is being forced on us.
yo, Thing. I have one question, and I've never asked this, but why is it always you know, white national Christians that always want to like start shit and like, you know, say they're great people, but then they want to start a war or do some other wild crazy shit, and it's like I never understood the hypocrisy in that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
it
you
is
want to say you're great,
hypocrisy.
and don't get me wrong, there are some amazing people that are Christian and they're faithful people and they, you know, believe in God and they're God fearing people. Amazing. But then there's some other ones that are like, you know, gun ho, let's go do what we got to do. If we got to drop a bomb on somebody, we'll drop a bomb on them, all because we're, you know, Christian and
Right.
whatever and all this other shit. And I'm like, but how? Like, please
You
give me the
can't. You
connection there.
can't. Yeah, there's like, and that's my struggle with today with the whole Christian nationalist movement, right? Is it's they're giving God a bad rap. They're giving
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus a bad name. They're not doing anybody any favors. You know what I mean? Like I understand that when our nation was formed, that we put God in our constitution. It's in many of the things, in God we trust. I get it. We came from that, but we are a nation of freedom. Okay, and you are free to worship as a Christian if you choose to. What is not okay is for you to force your Christian beliefs on me simply because I live here. That's not how this country was founded. And that's the problem that I have. I love Christians. They're great people.
Yeah.
But I also love the Jews, and I also love the Muslims, and they have every bit of right to believe what they believe and not put it on me. I mean, what if the current administration was Muslim and they were trying to push a Muslim agenda instead of a Christian agenda? Do you think this country would stand up and riot?
In a heartbeat.
Yeah. Okay, so why is it okay to push Christian nationalism? You see? Like, because here's the thing. In heaven, there's only one thing: love. That's it. Okay?
Yeah.
And it goes like this. Love, love is what everything is created from and is what everything returns to. Okay? I know that's a
Yeah.
deep thing when you think about it, but that's exactly how it works.
Nah,
So,
but if you really think about it, that's the highest form of emotion, you know what I mean? And the
it
highest
is.
and one of the highest frequencies that we could get when you take it to like a mathematical level, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? That
yeah,
emotion is the
yeah.
one of the most active emotions, you know what I mean? So
It
it's kind
is.
of yet again very weird. It's a very weird concept where you have people, you know, trying to use their faith and their religion as a way to be like, yo, listen, you got to either get down or lay down, you know, and that's like a very weird thing. Like I've always never really like got behind that concept, and it's crazy because we don't only see that from Christians, we see that from other races all across the world, of course, but I just never understood that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, some of the like interesting things, like, like when you go to heaven, like why are some people really wealthy and some people have nothing? Like I always wondered that as a child. I'd be like, I mean, we grew up lower middle class. We didn't have a lot. We got
Yeah,
enough. We had food on the table. We had clothing. Okay, I'll take that all day long. Grateful for that. But did you not, as a kid, because I lived in a little neighborhood that was surrounded by uber wealthy people, like I had kids in high school that drove Ferraris and Porsches, okay, that their daddies bought them. But then I was the little, we were the maids to the
yeah,
to the rich people. That's where we lived, right? But we were surrounded. So I went to a very opulent, very wealthy high school, but I was the poor kid at the high school, right? So I was always comparing my very humble but lovely home to these kids that had everything. Like one kid, he had 13 homes. Not one home, he had 13. Okay.
god damn,
And he drove a Ferrari and his sister drove the Porsche. So she got a 911 and he got the same Ferrari that Magnum drove, whatever one that one was. Okay.
yeah,
So, and they had 13 houses. And I'm sitting there as a little kid going, how is this fair? Like, how is it that I don't have any of these things and these people have more than they know what to do with? Okay. So here's the truth. The truth is, you will get to experience uber wealth at some point in your evolution of your soul. You will experience obscene wealth. And the question is, can you handle it? And did you handle it properly? Okay, I'm telling you right now, most of the people that have wealth today, they don't understand the responsibility that they actually have with wealth, because there's a principle that God taught me in multiplication, right? So let's get back to that equation.
Yeah.
We add, subtract, now we multiply. Action and intention aligned with my co-creator, I grow things. It gets bigger. So if I had $100, with my action, intention, and the power of God, I now have 1,000. All right, I have
Yeah.
$1,000. It's gotten bigger. What happens next? Like after multiplication, division. So division is taking that $1,000 and dividing it back and putting it back into the system. That's what division is. So God's basically saying add, subtract, maintain balance, grow it, get it as big as you can be, and then you divide it. Well, how do we divide it, and who does it get divided with? That's your job to figure that out. But here's what I will tell you is that division is about equal distribution of wealth. And it goes back to this thing called abundance. And it's something that God taught me in my
Yeah.
MDE. So abundance is actually a cost that comes from your heart, right? So what I mean by that, in that example that I gave you, we had $100, we grew it to 1,000. All right. So Ariel, how much money do you need of that 1,000 to make your bills this month? How much do you need of that 1,000? Throw me a number.
Let's say $400, $500.
Okay. So I need 500 of these 1,000, which means I have $500 that is excess, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So God understands that we as humans need to have like a sense of safety. So God's okay with something above and beyond what you need, but the answer is in the heart. So of that $500 that you need to pay your bills, Ariel, how much more do you need to feel safe in that $500? How much more of that 1,000 would make you be like, yeah, I'm good?
If it's just like for a week, let's say it's just a week span,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
200 bucks.
$200. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just exercised the principle of abundance and you did it perfectly, because that's exactly what God expects. So of that 1,000, I need 500 to pay my bills and another couple hundred for me to feel safe and have a little bit of cushion, so that I know, because sometimes life throws me some curveballs, and God, I need to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So God is okay with you keeping an amount that is reasonable. That's why I said abundance is a cost that comes from your heart. Your heart will tell you. You said $700. That means there's $300 of excess wealth that we
Yeah.
created. You created it with God. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we've got $300 of excess wealth, and you just told me you don't need it because you're abundant. So what do you do with it? You put it back into the system. That's where division comes from. So of this $300 that I no longer need, because I know God is going to provide for me every time. I know that God will always provide. So I don't need this. I need to put it back into the system. So that $300 goes back to charity. That $300 goes back to the soup kitchens. The $300 goes back to the homeless shelter. The $300 goes back to the Boys and Girls Club to help kids that don't have two sets of parents. The $300 goes back to building wells in Africa where they don't even have running water. Okay. That's where that money goes. So that is how we are supposed to work the equation of life and abundant happiness. We're supposed to put it back. And you see, when you do that, the system stays in balance, doesn't it? It maintains perfect balance, love in perfect balance. But the problem is that we don't live in abundance. We take the excess and we hold it, and it's resulted in greed and ugly things in our world. We weren't supposed to be like this. We're going to have our first trillionaire soon, and yet we also have
Yeah.
people that don't even have running water. So you tell
Yeah.
me, right? Does somebody, I'm not saying, because I've had people attack me. I'm not saying that you're bad if you're wealthy. What I'm saying is you have a responsibility with wealth, and I'm not saying that you give it all away. But what I am saying is you give most of it away. You don't need it. You
No.
don't. It's a scorecard for billionaires. That's all it is. And I'm telling you right now, every one of those billionaires is going to be humbled in the next life. Telling you
Yeah.
right now, they're going to be piss poor, living in the slums because they did not handle wealth appropriately. That's exactly where Elon Musk is headed. I'm just telling you that. He does
Well,
not understand the responsibility that he has with that wealth.
no, and I agree with you because I do believe that if you work hard for something and you earn it, might as
Yeah,
well,
you should.
if you become
Yes.
wealthy off of something that you've done and you worked hard at it, of course. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, how much money is enough money for you to enjoy life to its
Yeah.
fullest?
That's
After
and
that, what are you
amen.
gonna do? Like, what are you
Amen.
really gonna do? And the shit,
Right.
and this is the craziest shit I've ever thought of, was that if, right, the economy relies on people pouring more money into it, right? Follow me
Yep.
here, right? So wouldn't it be more beneficial if you have an economy that's healthy, strong, keeps working, educated, and they're making good money?
Hmm.
Because now you have certain costs that are low, like pharmaceuticals, emergency services, because your economy, your citizens are
Hmm.
healthy and strong and
Hmm.
whatnot. And then on top
Yeah.
of that, you have people working longer, so that means people are making more money. The job markets are up, and I've never understood the fact of poisoning your people, and keeping us docile and keeping us uneducated, because of the fact that if you reverse all of those, you would just have a lot more benefits
Hmm.
economically
Well, but
wise.
you see, under the
But
current
but
system,
but
that's how
hold
the
on, hold on.
wealthy control what they got.
Yeah, but this is the thing about it. On the flip side of that, you really can't run no bullshit, because everybody would be on the up and up. You'd be like, nah, you're wilding now. Like, we understand that you created X, Y, and Z and you're making your money on it, but now you're wilding. Like, we understand that you're a fucked up person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of being
So,
blindsided by shit.
yep. No, I agree with you. I think the thing with wealth is it's a responsibility. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that you can't work hard and be well compensated, but I don't think anybody that has a heart, okay, can go buy, a $500 billion yacht and then not go to Africa and seeing kids with distended stomachs because they have no food, and knowing that you're literally could have saved that kid's life, and in fact the whole freaking country, if I would just let go of some of these luxurious things that I
and
have.
and
Like,
the craziest shit about it is that it's not a lot of money. It's probably pocket change to most of them. Like,
yeah,
and this is where I'm getting
right.
at. It's like, our pharmaceuticals, at least in the US, are super hyperinflated, right?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
How
So if
can
we
how
so
can he go to Mexico and I can get an antibiotic for $3? $3. $3.
and
And
they're
I come
still
across the border, that same prescription is $90.
yep. And this is what I'm saying. And on top of that, the one in Mexico probably is more potent and works better than the one over
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I mean,
And
let's
on top of that, whatever pharmaceutical company generated it is still making a shit ton of profit, because they're probably making it for cents on the dollar.
yeah. Haven't you ever wondered how come we've never had a cure for any of these things?
Because
Right? With all
there's no money in the cure. There's only
That's exactly right. Because
yeah.
our entire economy, our entire world is driven on greed. It is
Yep.
driven on greed. Because if you live the equation of life in abundant happiness, which is what God wants you to live, there wouldn't be ultra wealthy people. There would be people that have a little bit more than others, but the wealth distribution would be equal across all populations. That's the
Well,
truth. And then you
well,
wouldn't have people fighting over money. And I
no,
have
no,
this and you do not.
no. I'm gonna give you a little pushback there, because I do feel that we will still have people that are ultra wealthy, but I do feel that there would be no poor people, and everyone would be, have access to at least the
Yeah,
basics, running
yeah,
water, electricity, internet, because I don't care what anybody says, internet and communications a basic necessity now,
yeah.
especially in
Truth.
our technological world. Where was I?
Yeah,
Food and shelter and clothing. I don't feel
yep.
that anybody on this planet should not have those things. Oh, and of course, access to medicine. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
I still feel that people would still be ultra wealthy, maybe not as wealthy,
Yeah.
but there would still be billionaires, still be
I,
multimillionaires.
I,
But
I, and I agree with that.
yeah,
And again, what's your heart say? That's really at the end of the day, the
yeah,
only
true.
answer that I know is what does my heart say? Okay. If my heart says that I'm good keeping this money, then I'm good. I mean, here's the thing, Ariel. I trust everything in my life by this right here. I judge
Yeah,
everything from the light in my heart. And my light, I'm very sensitive to it. So if I make stupid choices, I feel it darken. I know it goes dark. I can feel it. Okay? And if I do something or I say something to somebody that's not cool, it makes my heart go dark. I feel it and I immediately correct it because I'm not okay with that. I want the light, period. Like
no, for sure.
when you die and you understand how temporary this life really is and what really matters, it's not things. Things do not matter. What matters is relationships and connections to people. It's about knowledge. That is what life is about, knowledge and the expansion of your soul. There's actually three things that you have to master. Okay. Three things. These are the things that come up in life review. Okay. The first one is, do you know love unconditionally? And can you demonstrate that consistently? Okay. So, have I learned how to unconditionally love all beings? Number one. Part two of that is right from wrong. It's an extension of love. We all know right from wrong. When you do
Yeah,
something you're not supposed to do, you know it. And you can't look at me and say, no, I don't know. You have a moral character. We've all got it. We've all got a compass. We
yeah,
do. It sits in our heart. What does your compass say? Is this right or wrong? And if it is wrong, do you still choose to make that choice? That's the question. So, literally, one of the first things that comes up in life review, number one, do you understand unconditional love and do you use it appropriately? And can you choose right from wrong consistently? That's like number one. The second thing that is important in life review is the second operator in the equation life and abundant happiness, and it's subtraction. One of the most difficult things that we have as humans is to let our shit go. When somebody wrongs us, when somebody screwed me over, I would always be the last guy to ever let you see the light of day. Like, you
yeah.
screw me, you're done. I'm going to bury you. I'm going to, like, my old self, ruthless. Like, you did
No,
not want to be on the wrong side of me. Did not. But not today. Today, I'm just a lover. I love everybody. Do I still have a temper? Yeah, but does it last long? No. And
no.
does it show up often? No, it does not. I got rid of anger using a protocol in my bracelet. I can train anybody out of anger. That's easy. That's just a body response and you got to retrain a different neural pathway to it, but that's what I do in neuroscience, right? I
Yeah,
literally teach people how to rewire their brain. Okay? And the most important thing, right? So number 1, unconditional love. You now know number 2, letting go. And then number 3, this is the biggie. This is the one that will keep most people from what I call passing go in heaven. And it's this: can you find me from within? That's the question. Okay. So when you can answer those three things consistently and correctly, what that means is when you go back, you have options. So, Ariel, you made the statement that you said, well, if God created this earth, there's got to be other planets with other life on them. Yes, that's
yeah,
true. And when you go back and you can answer those three questions correctly, okay, and you pass, then you get to choose where you go next. Okay. So it's like the ultimate ticket. So when we die here, okay, we all die. There's three states of the human soul. Okay. There's net positive, which is the sum of my life is positive. There's net negative, which is the sum of my life is negative. Or there's the most important position, neutral. Okay. Because that's where God lies, in neutral. no filter, positive or negative. That's the most important position to be in. So when you die, you want to die in neutral. Because if you die in neutral, you're going to answer the questions correctly. And that means that you don't have to reincarnate. Okay. If you can't answer those three questions correctly and you go through life review and God points out the things that you need to learn, okay, then what happens is you don't get a body right away. You have to earn the right to get a second chance at life.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way it kind of works, you come here, you're a brand new soul, you come here, you do your best, you go back. What did you learn? What could you have done better? That's what life review is about. Okay. And the thing is that's interesting in life review is that what you feel is the opposite of what you created. So specifically, when I hurt somebody's feelings, when I said something that was hurtful and mean, I could feel the negative energy in the person that I created it in.
Yeah.
So when you say, is there punishment for doing bad things? Yes, you will feel everything that you created in this life, you will feel it. And you can look at every single one of them. Okay. And then here's what's interesting when you understand how God works and it's in the present moment, that means there's always only one variable that changes from that moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm talking probabilities. So this right here is a bubble. Okay.
Yeah.
That is how heaven is organized by bubbles. So, and what I mean by that is in this bubble is every timeline that points to this exact moment in time. So everything that needed to happen for my life to be here and everything that needed to happen in your life to be here is here in this bubble. Now, all I got to do is move one variable and now I'm no longer in that bubble. So why that's important is because you'll understand that when you do something, it has a ripple effect forever.
Yeah.
So if I created negative energy with somebody, then I got to feel the negative energy that I created from the heart of that person. But then I can go to the next bubble over and I can see how my negative energy impacted you. Because when you went home, you were pissed off because I pissed all over you. So you pissed all over your family when you walked in the door. Okay. So now I see that the negative that I created actually impacted you and your family. Okay, so then where does it go from your family? Well, because you went home pissy and you were rude to your little brother. Your little brother had a bad day. He went to school, and because of that, blah 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 blah. So
So it's the
what
ripple
God
effect.
it is, and what God shows you is how your choices affect everybody, not just you. We are
Mm.
all one. We are all connected. Okay. So every action we take has a reaction. Okay. So we have to take that into consideration when we're making our choices. So when I died the first time, I know I've been reincarnated many times because I have some of those knowledge in my brain. I can remember some of them, but you keep reincarnating until you can answer the three questions. You
I
see?
got that.
Okay, because let's say so you go to life review. So
Yeah.
Ariel passes away and you go to life review and you stand with God and they look at your life and they go, "Oh, Ariel, you did a lot of really good things. There's a couple bonehead moves here. In fact, that bonehead move right there is probably something you're going to want to master." Like
Yeah.
I think everybody would agree watching your life review here that you probably could have handled that a little bit better. Would you agree with me? Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. So what happens when you can't pass life review? Then you kind of become a working angel, and that's the best way to describe it. Okay?
Okay.
So as a working angel, you have a job to help God help us. That's what angels are. So those are people that have already died, that have not made it completely through heaven. They're still learning themselves, but they're on the other side and they're helping you. Okay? That is how God does what God does. So, for example, if Ariel needed to meet Thayne, and Thane and Ariel were to become friends, I somehow got to get Ariel to post something on Facebook, and I've got to somehow get Thane over here in another part of the world to get online at just the right moment and see the post that you posted for us to be able to connect. So how did that
Yeah.
happen? That happened because the angels are moving the probabilities. So angels can plant thoughts in your head. They can't read your mind, but they can put a thought in your head. That is true. So thoughts were put into your head, thoughts were put into my head so that you and I could meet. That's the
Facts.
probabilities. That's the probabilities, you see? So that's why everything is connected. Everything is. Everything's
No,
connected. And everything that we do matters because
that's a
every
fact.
action has a reaction.
Yep.
Okay. And my job is to learn as much love as I can in this life to be able to return and be able to go do what I want. So the angels on the other side, they help you because they grow when you grow, right? So, for example, every human being has a guardian angel that is assigned to you. It
Yeah.
is assigned to you by your creator. You don't always have the same guardian angel. You can get a different one. Like if one angel ain't cutting it, another angel will be brought in. And I'm not
Like,
joking when I
yo,
say
bro,
that.
like, yeah,
Like,
let's pull you off this guy, bring
yeah,
in the other
yeah,
person.
yeah, that's exactly what God does. God's like, you are asleep at the wheel and you need to be helping that soul, and you're not. Okay? Because remember, you're trying to get another opportunity to get a body. You
Okay.
didn't make it through life review. So now you're a worker angel. Okay? So if I can get you to do the right things and I'm doing my job as a worker angel, eventually, as an angel, my heart also turns transparent. Ah, transparent is what? Neutral.
Yep.
Okay. When you're neutral, you get another body. You see how it works? So
Okay. Okay.
that's why the angels have an incentive to help us here because that is how they get to pass go and come back. It behooves them to help us. You see
No,
how
I
that
got you.
works? Okay.
I see it.
So who are demons? What are demons?
Uh-huh.
Demons are souls of people that died in this life net negative.
Negative.
Okay. Meaning that the sum of their life was negative. They absorbed negative things. They looked at negative things. They sowed negative things. They earned negative things. And that's why they are negative. So now they go through life review. They cannot answer any of the things that they need to answer. So, what does that mean? You're definitely going to have to reincarnate because you didn't learn a damn thing. But here's the problem for those negative ones, okay? You don't get a new body until your heart turns transparent. So you get a lot of angels that go on the other side that died negative,
Yeah.
and they know that God exists because on the other side you know more than you know here. I will
Of
tell you
course.
that. But the hell is knowing that you cannot be in the presence of God. That is the hell. You want to be with God, but you're not because you couldn't make it through life review because you didn't learn how to unconditionally love. You didn't learn how to let shit go and not carry it with us, and you didn't know how to find me on your own. And until you can do those things, you're going to keep reincarnating until you
I keep.
until you can. Yeah. So
Nah, I feel
so
you.
this time around, you go back and this time your family assembles. Why? Because Ariel's been an angel now, and Ariel helped somebody down here for a while, and his heart is now transparent because Ariel learned by watching the person he was assigned to. You
It's
see?
true. And I got you.
So yeah, so that's why this time around your heart goes transparent. So when your heart is transparent, that's a signal to God that you're ready for your next reincarnation. So when that happens, you, God, and your family, your light family, okay?
Yeah.
Your light family gets together and they go, "All right, Ariel, looks like in that last life you didn't do well here. So let's design a really fun experience for you where you're going to learn that particular lesson. All right. And we need to have certain people play certain roles. So, who up here in heaven right now is willing to go down with Ariel and help him learn this particular lesson? And that's literally how it happens. So a team gets assigned, you leave heaven with um a roadmap of what your soul must learn.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you come back, if you learn everything and you can answer those three questions, great, you're done. Okay? Because then what happens when you walk into the presence of the one, okay, you're going to see the brightest light you've ever seen. It's going to blow you away. There isn't even any way to describe it. Okay? It's not. There's no words that can take on how beautiful and how incredible it actually is. Okay?
Nah, I believe that thing.
But what's going to happen is God's going to say, Ariel, well done, my good and faithful servant. You can pass these three things. You've mastered unconditional love and demonstrated it in all things. Good job, Ariel. Number two, you learned how to let shit go. In your last life, you carried it to the grave. That hardness, you carried it to the grave. But this time when you died, no, you carried no hardness in your heart. That's awesome. And then that last thing, Ariel, you found me on my own. You didn't have to go through a religious institution and a framework that was created by man to find
Yeah.
me. You found me on your own. So, what that means is because you can find me on your own, once you've learned that, you cannot unlearn it. So, that's when God says, okay, you want to go back down to earth? It's optional. Okay, that's what happens. So, when you can pass go, earth becomes optional. You can choose as a soul to come down and help your family, and
Yeah.
you very well may. You could also say, you know what, God, I've always wanted to live on that star over there. Like that's where I want to go. And then God would go, okay, off you
Let's make it
go.
happen.
Yeah. and
All right.
and and here's what you know that you will return because you know
Yeah.
how to find God from within. That's never taken away from you. That's why it's the most important thing. Like, and it's the hardest. It's the
Yeah.
hardest thing to learn because you have to learn to find and know God on your own, not through some book, not through some course. You got to find God on your own.
No, that's
And that's
true.
a
No.
personal journey. And nobody can do it for you. You have to do it.
True. And with that, roomies, I think that's a perfect way to end it all off. Roomies, you already know everything is within you and connect to your higher self. With that,
Yeah.
peace out.
Peace out.